Good evening, and it is so good to be with you this evening for a Tenebrae service. Welcome to all of you who are watching us online. The Tenebrae is the Latin word for tenebrae is darkness, and it is a Western Christian religious service that's held about 3 days preceding Easter, and is characterized by extinguishing of candles and by a loud noise. As we slowly, you'll notice very soon, I will light the candles we have in front, and then we will have some readings for you, and we'll hear Aubrey's beautiful bellowing voice singing for us, and then at the very end, we will invite all of you to make some sort of sound, and you can use your voice for that sound. You can wail, you can stomp your feet, you can smack books together, but we will all make a loud sound at the end, and I will let you know when we're about to do that. The whole point of this service is a time of lamenting, of grieving, that period between the time that the reason we celebrate Easter, of course, that Good Friday when Jesus was killed in that darkness that is talked about in Scripture.
Story of Tenebrae Weekend, as written by Reverend Howard N. Dana. It has been a tumultuous few days filled with highs and lows. You were there in the crowd when Jesus rode into Jerusalem earlier in the week. There were some of your own palm branches you and your neighbors waved to welcome him. There was such excitement in the crowd, such hope, such anticipation. Was the great teacher and prophet riding into the city, riding up to the temple. Here was the one whose very presence could heal people. Here was the Jewish leader that called for freedom from oppression. You have lived in Jerusalem for many years, and you have seen how it has changed.
At first, the Roman governors let the Jewish people live in relative peace. But then the tax collectors wanted more and more money to send to Caesar. Then there was less and less freedom of movement. There was less and less freedom of expression, less freedom of worship. Some of the religious leaders got caught up in trying to appease the Roman authorities. But uprising after uprising hardened Caesar's heart toward Jerusalem. Prophet after prophet was put to death. Now Jerusalem is a wreck of its former self. The city is gripped with fear and racked with grief. A huge ring of crucifixes circles the Temple Mount, each marked with the blood of a martyr. The glorious golden city reeks of carnage. It reeks of greed. It reeks of war. To see Jesus come up to Jerusalem from Galilee was almost too good to be true. Here was a Jew bringing a message of hope and freedom to his fellow Jews. Here was a leader unlike the others, not a warrior, but a peacemaker.
But now you have heard that he too has been captured. Now you have heard that he too is in the hands of the Roman guards. Last night on your way home, you were crossing a courtyard when you ran into Roman soldiers, searching the disciples who were traveling with Jesus.
The soldiers were asking people where these disciples were hiding. They were accusing people of being with Jesus, and these frightened people were denying it.
Would they all be arrested eventually and put to death, you wondered? How far would Pontius Pilate go to put down this latest threat to his power? How many more would need to die this Passover season to appease Rome? And then today, you heard stories of Jesus being mocked by the Roman guards. Some say that Herod himself wanted to see Jesus at his palace, but this seems unbelievable. You know that no good can ever come of being in the custody of the Romans. You know their brutal tactics. So it does not surprise you that the final decision was that Jesus should be crucified. They had crucified hundreds of activists before him. So why not him too?
But this time, it feels different. This time, it feels more significant. This time, it feels as if a truly holy man is being put to death. It feels as if hope itself will hang upon the cross.
You know how Jesus' life will end. You have seen it before.
The guards will make him carry the arm beam of his cross through the streets. They will force his already whipped body to climb a hill outside the city walls. There, among the rats and the vultures, they will nail him up and leave him to die in agony. Sometimes the death is quick. Sometimes a strong man might live a day or two. They will station a centurion nearby to be sure Jesus does not receive help from fellow Jews. Those men who followed him to Jerusalem will remain in hiding, fearing the same. And when it is over, one more Jewish rabble-rouser will be dead. When it is over, Jerusalem will trudge through another day of its war-soaked life.
You decide you need to see this terrible thing for yourself. You decide you are going to be in the crowd as Jesus carries his cross, just as you were in that crowd when he went by in glory on Palm Sunday. You will follow him as far as you can. You might even leave the city walls and see where they take him. Though you know there is nothing to be done about his fate, you decide that Jesus should not die alone. He should have at least a few believers nearby. This tragedy must have witnesses. You decide you can bear the pain and sorrow, so you follow. Nothing that happens surprises you. It is just as bad as you thought it would be, but there are some women around, fairly near the foot of the cross. You think you see Jesus' mother there. If she can stand it, so can you. So you wait. You watch. You hold your breath. You offer a prayer. You cry. You rage. You see it through to the end.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble Tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
If you would now take a meditative stance. See if you can close your eyes or keep them at a soft gaze, looking in front of you. Relax your shoulders and listen to this meditative prayer by Reverend Seely Kadovich. Help us to hold the mystery. Spirit of life and death, thou who art as present to us in our suffering as in our well-being, abide with us in this permeable time between dusk and dark. Soothe the secret pains we carry. Bless us with courage to move towards our grief and not away. When all is hidden, when we find ourselves moving among the shadows, when we do not know the way, quiet our hearts, still our restlessness. Help us to embrace the unknown, to hold the mystery, and to let ourselves be held by it. For thou art the great hiddenness, and yet we know that our breath is not so close to us as thy presence. Abide with us, O Spirit of compassion, as the power of healing, the assurance of peace, the love that will not let us go.
When they made a crown of thorns? Were you there when they made a crown of thorns? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they made a crown?
My name is Lisa Marie, and this is my poem, Our Holy Mother's Tears. She hears the silence of your fears you dare not share and shroud in lonely silence. She sees the tears you never cried when you just didn't have the time or feared it would invite a deluge of grief. She hears your broken dreams which never spoke in their first breath of flight. She sees your timid glimmer of hope defying an ocean of darkness in its heroic scope, bursting to latent song. For she knows, blessed are the orphans, for life still breathes in them. Blessed are your prayers when you believe that no one's there. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit peace. Within you, she weeps. Within you, she leaves. the divine gulf of peace.
Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble. Tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him to the tree?
This reading is entitled Good Friday by Elizabeth Tarbox. I was working with a group of young people at a Safe Schools conference in Boston. They were discussing how to tell their parents they were gay or lesbian. Many of them had suffered harassment, brutality, and ostracism by their peers, and they worried about how to protect their parents from the sadness that often results from learning one's son or daughter is homosexual. Tell them you'll always love them, even if they reject you, suggests one man. Talk to siblings first. Ask for their support, advised another. It's rough, admitted a young woman, but you stand to have a closer, more honest relationship with them once they know. One young man had tears in his eyes. I'm scared of hurting them, he admitted. I never wanted to lie to them. My parents are neat people, but I'm afraid they will be so disappointed in me. Good Friday is coming up. In our tradition, we focus more on the renewal and celebration of life than on the grief of death. Yet we cannot overlook the meaning of Good Friday in our eagerness to get to Easter morning. For death is always part of life, and sorrow is not to be avoided if we are to fully experience joy. The Christian tradition remembers the suffering of Jesus on Good Friday, and one of his concerns as he was crucified was for his mother. I looked at these fine young men and women around the table at the conference, and I thought of Jesus saying, "Woman, behold your son," and to the disciple, "Behold your mother." Like Jesus, these young men and women wanted to protect their parents from sadness and disappointment. In the Bible story, Jesus' mother stayed with him right to the end. When everyone else turned away, his mother was there. I hope this will be true too for the students I met at the conference. I hope their parents will not turn away when they are most needed. If I could speak to each one of their parents, I would say, behold your child and be very proud.
When the sun refused to shine? Were you there when the sun refused to shine? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble. Oh, to tremble, yes, to tremble. Were you there when the sun refused to shine?
Rebuilding Starts with Weeping by Amand Udis Kessler. Rebuilding starts with weeping, with tears that fall like rain, with full and honest grieving for years of loss and pain, for suffering and sorrow that never had to be. Rebuilding starts with weeping for all who are not free. Rebuilding starts with praying, with hopes allowed a voice, with visions for our country, with reason to rejoice. We offer up our spirits, our hearts, our minds, and hands. Rebuilding starts with praying for strength to heal our land. Rebuilding starts with loving, with care for every soul, with yearning in compassion that all may yet be whole, that enemy and neighbor may know a better day. Building starts with loving. To love will show the way.
Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb?
This poem is titled Don't Forget to Mourn by Jekarin Olaoya. Don't forget to mourn properly, the way you don't want anyone to see, wailing, thrashing, heaving, with each breath releasing, purging. Mourn all you have lost, who you have lost, both in passing over and through, leaving behind an emptiness that draws up and squeezes heartily. Mourn with no regards to place or time, feeling deeply the etching of each second across bare skin, leaving behind canyons to fill. Mourn until eyes bleary and aching strain to see. Mourn until your chest unclenches and breath eases. Mourn until your spirit sighs with relief, settles and snores. Mourn.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble in my heart, tremble in my life.
Beloved, this is our last reading of this evening. And after we extinguish the last chalice, you will be invited to make that loud sound I mentioned earlier. You can use your voice, you can stomp your feet, you can use objects. Just let it all out. The grief, the lament, release. And we are ending with this prayer called Prayer for While in the Struggle. I wrote this prayer around the time of the George Floyd murder. Spirit of light and love, spirit of resistance, spirit of generosity, that which serves as our conscience in this work that we do to dismantle white supremacy, to empower the marginalized, to insist that Black lives matter. We have been angered, we have been saddened, we have been pushed to the brink once more. We are also inspired and seem resolved to do better this time, to not simply get to the other side of this moment, but to get there morally healthier, to get to a safer space for Black bodies. Spirit, help us to understand that we each have a role in justice work, for our liberations are tied to one another's. Give us the clarity of mind to know what our individual part is in the struggle, that there are many ways to protest injustice. Help us to find our way and commit to it. Spirit, we ask for guidance. Send us strength and endurance. Help us to give our all to this and hold nothing back. For precious lives depend on it. We will be imperfect. Rest assured that we will mess up over and over again, and we must do it anyway. May we summon the courage to tear down the system of injustice and get busy creating a community with justice for all. May it be so. And now,